this evening somewhere in Yaba, in the city of Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa, as we meet a man of honor, a man of integrity, a man of impeccable success and achievements in media, business, and in the clergy circle in Nigeria. Somebody who has done a lot to create a brand for himself in terms of personality and in terms of leadership. I'm talking about one man, Dr. Kunle Hamilton, the creator of Literati in the famous This Day newspaper in Nigeria, and the founder of Shaddaiville, a Christian leadership training institute, which is also an affiliation of a church, Celestial Church. We are proud to be with him today. We've just watched a drama in Lagos by Shadow Crafts titled Yes I Do, to put us through on marriage and the challenges of marriage and even marriages. Today we are privileged to meet the great man in his office here in Yaba. He has given us his time. You've been in marriage for so many years. People will describe as a veritable marriage counselor. You've counseled a lot of young people, not just in Nigeria, in UK, and all over the world. So what do you think is the problem of the modern day marriage? You know, we look at marriages these days, very lavish party, celebration, and down the line, 18 months, the marriage is off the hook, thrown across the board, and everybody has gone his own way. So what is the problem of the modern day marriage? What do you think are the real problem, and what is the panacea?
Now, marriage is not just modern. Marriage is as old as the history of mankind. As a Christian, my first introduction to marriage is in the Garden of Eden between Adam and Eve. And the reason that people who have been married 100 years in the last 100 years, or those who are getting married in the last few years, they face the same problem. Human beings, especially those of us who claim to be Christians and people of other faith, when it comes to the issue of marriage, we abandon God's plan for marriage. We take our own decisions, believing that marriage as an institution can be bended to suit our own needs. And that's why lots of marriages are not working. Marriage is meant to be enjoyed, but today a lot of people who are married are just enduring marriage. The original plan of God is what we all need to go back to.
What are the plans, sir?
Now, God deliberately created one wife for Adam to marry. So anybody who decides to be a polygamist is acting out of God's plan. If God had created two people, then that would have been two women and one man in the Garden of Eden. Then that would have been God's express permission that this is the pattern I want for marriage. So I say that shows God does not want polygamy, he wants monogamy. If God wanted marriage to be between man and man, as we now have in the Western world, God would have created Adam and Steve, two men in the garden, and they would have had no choice but to have sexual relations. But God didn't want that, so he didn't create man and man. If God wanted lesbians to marry themselves, woman to woman, he would have created Eve and Eva. He did not. The pattern is Adam and Eve. Now, if God wanted marriage to be between human beings and animals, in the Western world now, it is so sad. Women dress up their dogs in suits to marry them. And I can't imagine whoever will pretend to be a minister of the gospel and say, I now pronounce you. How would you say that? No, so if God wanted that, he would have created Eve and Bingo. He did not. So I say that we all need to return, if we want to enjoy marriage, we have to return to God's plan for it. Now you see, I can say this for free, that today it looks to me like young Nigerians are more interested in the ceremony called wedding than the business called marriage. They spend a lot of money, they even borrow, they pressurize their parents to come up with huge budgets. They take time to go to a choreographer. They want to entertain their guests as if marriage is about entertainment. So today's marriage is featuring Mr. Groom and Mrs. Bride, who are the key actors in a choreographed dance. And what are they dancing to?
Yes, sir.
I have no bitterness against the music industry in Nigeria. I'm very, very happy for the musicians we have, the celebrity, the stars.
Yes, sir.
Because Nigerian music has now gone across the globe.
Yep.
Even where people don't understand the language, we sing in, they love our bits. But you see, this is the same hip-hop fusion that today's groom and bride spend so much time training to dance all the latest steps to. And soon after the wedding, you begin to hear that the marriage is not working. One, because both of them did not, the time they should have spent with the marriage counselor, they are spent with the choreographer.
I understand now.
The money they should have spent as foundation for their marriage has gone into the ceremony called wedding. And parents indulge in all of this. Now, I think that we all should go back to the original pattern of God. And we realize that the most important thing is that your marriage be honorable, your marriage produce values that better society, your marriage produce children that obey the instruction of the Lord. You make God the center of your marriage.
So what are the role of parents? You've just mentioned some very silent issues that affect marriages, the peer pressure, the parental pressure, societal pressure. Somebody is feeling that, oh, my marriage, if it's not like Mr. A's marriage, then it is a very useless marriage. You want to bring P Square to the marriage, you want to bring whiskey to that stand, you want to bring Two-Face Libya, just to be like Mr. A or Mr. Z's marriage. And the parents say, no, we'll give you first class. The father wants to bring all his political associates to witness the wedding of his daughter. The mother wants to bring all her political, social or business associates to witness the wedding of her daughter. How do you think a modern marriage should be structured? How do we run away from the influx of pressures, societal pressures and all that? How do you think the man and woman should streamline their marriage for them to have an a reputable after wedding lifestyle? What do you think, if you are to be a marriage counselor, if you are to counsel 1,000 young painters and bachelors, what are you going to tell them?
I have very deep things to say. So the first thing I want to clear the air about is that I don't have a problem with anybody spending 10 million, 100 million on a wedding. My principle is this: if you can afford it and it's what will make you happy, go ahead and do it. But do not let the frills and thrills of a wedding ceremony overshadow the values that will keep a marriage happy. I experienced something in London a couple of years ago. Two young people they were going to get married, and the bride's people insisted it has to be at this minimum level of hospitality. We have to go and buy our clothes outside England. We have to do this, we have to do that. This hall is not big enough, we have to get a bigger hall. And then I got into London as a missionary. But because the bride-to-be is like a goddaughter, she got in touch with me and told me everything is in shambles. I said, what's the situation? Said, my husband-to-be has decided that he's not going ahead with the marriage. That if that is what your people want, then let them go and look for a husband for you. And I said, that is a wonderful young man.
How do you mean, sir?
Yes, because you see, the moment you forget that after the wedding is when the real marriage begins, and you sacrifice the life of that marriage on the altar of the party for the wedding, you're likely not going to have a marriage after the wedding. So the young man put his foot down that I want marriage, you guys want wedding, go and do wedding and forgo marriage. So as deep as that sounds, this is my counsel to every parent, and indeed the groom and the bride. Nobody knows it all. We all need to see marriage counselors. Thank God, every church I know has a marriage counseling unit. And no pastor should actually join any two people together in holy matrimony if you cannot find evidence that they have consistently received counseling for this marriage. Secondly, there are 3 authorities that should be complete in any marriage: parental authority, legal authority, and spiritual authority. Parental authority is symbolized by the engagement, depending on the culture of the people, where parents come together, share gifts, pay dowry if they take dowry. That symbolizes parental approval for the union. But that is not where marriage ends. If you're a Christian, you still need the blessings of the church. An ordained priest. Now people say that can be very, very expensive. I say no, it's what you choose. A priest will bless and complete marriage vows for any 2 people who he has assessed are fit for marriage without any encumbrances. So whether there is a church congregation or not, a man of God is a man of God, and you should get a priest, an ordained priest, to bless your union. That's spiritual authority. So that after the whole process of wedding, because this is still part of wedding, after that whole process, when you kneel down as husband and wife to pray over circumstances of your marriage, God will listen to you because his representative blessed you. Then the third one, which is very important, is you need a certificate as proof for your wedding. Every marriage goes through its trial moment. I have seen pastors whose marriages have crashed. And a lot of times, the reason that some pastors are trying to keep their homes is because there's a certificate. So if you don't go to a registry, you don't go to a court and get a marriage certificate for your wedding, you have already thrown your union into a huge risk. So no matter how much money is spent, these 3 steps must be taken, and any decent family should place the real business of marriage over and above the frivolities and expenses and hospitality of wedding.
I want to take you back to the Bible before we leave the marriage issue. You look at great personalities like Abraham. He had wives. He had a wife, of course, but eventually the Bible lets us know that there was a Keturah in his life, and at a particular instance in the Bible, after his death, the Bible also let us know that his children came, the children of Sarah came, the children of Keturah came, and the bastards. That is one side. Then you look at a great personality like King David. He was also a polygamist, with ladies here and there. He chased women, he had women in abundance, and when he died, eventually, according to the Bible, God says he's a man after his heart. Every other person will say, oh, let the men of God tell us where it is in the Bible that we should marry just one wife. What do you see in these instances? We also have King Solomon, the wisest man in the world in the biblical times, who had 1,000 women in his life, 300 wives, 700 concubines, or something like that. Where do you put the role of God in this kind of a thing? Today also we have men of God who have wives. Some people have concubines. So do you think God is really specific on the issue of monogamism or polygamism?
Now let me say this without any fear of contradiction, that being a polygamist does not make you a sinner. It is not the yardstick for making heaven. Being a monogamist is not a visa to heaven. However, I was saying earlier on that there is a pattern to marriage.
Yes.
And in that pattern, God was not giving theory. God was laying his pattern for marriage. It should be one man, one wife. Anytime we do anything outside of the plan of God, we expose ourselves to bitterness, to strife. And that's why all the instances you gave, Abraham, Solomon, David, their families were shattered by the natural causes of polygamy. Now you see, the man who acquires many wives, in the short term, thinks that he's enjoying. But it is the children and the wives in the polygamy that you need to talk to find out if polygamy is good or bad. No child in any polygamy will tell you, I would rather have only my mom be my father's wife. No child is happy sharing the love of the father with the other people. Even the best polygamy, if we can have such a term, the best polygamy is not anywhere close to God's pattern for marriage. Now, is it not nice when a child has headache, and as a mother or the father, you know that all this guy needs is Panadol? But the moment you begin to think that this headache must be caused by my rival, you begin to see the evil in polygamy. So, and once you cross the bar from one woman to a second wife, there is no limit. You take the third, you take the fourth. And as we see exemplified by Solomon, even after the number 999 woman, he still took the 1,000th woman. Now, that was what led to the tearing apart of his kingdom, because he started following the gods of his wives and concubines. I say that in all of the Bible, no man, living or dead, can have experience about women like Solomon. But is it not crazy? If you have 1,000 women, wives and concubines, how much appetite can you satisfy? If he was to arrange his wives and concubines a woman per day, it means that for him to complete one calendar, he will need 3.5 years. That's crazy. Now, he took 1,000 steps forward by making 1,000 sacrifices unto the Lord, which was what provoked God to make him the richest man on earth and the wisest. But a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. The same 1,000 steps he took backwards by having 1,000 women. That anybody who finds himself in polygamy should just manage himself. Don't make it an example, a formula for your own children to follow. Because even you know, if nobody else does, that you have made a mistake.